Yoo Seung-jun, also known as Steve Yoo, was one of South Korea's most beloved entertainers in the late 1990s and early 2000s. He had many hits like Na Na Na, Scissors, and Passion. Those are songs most well known at the time. And he was a household name in South Korea, and he was admired for his dancing, charisma, and squeaky clean image. He was also known for his athletic stage presence, dance skills, and wholesome model youth persona. And he wasn't just a singer, he was a multi entertainer who symbolized the energy and optimism of a new generation. For teenagers, he was an idol, and for the general public, he was a beloved star. But in 2002, all of that collapsed overnight. Yoo Seung-jun was facing imminent enlistment, military enlistment at the time, and he suddenly acquired U.S. citizenship. And by doing so, he avoided mandatory military service, which is a duty that all Korean men are expected to fulfill. And the reaction was swift and unforgiving. Now, the Ministry of Justice declared him persona non grata, preventing him from entering Korea indefinitely. And what had been a glittering career instantly became a cautionary tale, and Yoo Seung-jun's name turned into a byword for betrayal. Now, 23 years later, the courts are still wrestling with his case. On August 28, 2025, the Seoul Administrative Court ruled in Yoo Seung-jun's favor in his third lawsuit against the Korean Consulate General in Los Angeles. The consulate had once again refused him a visa, citing national security, public order, and public welfare. But the court rejected those arguments, saying such reasons were not persuasive and that the harm to Yoo Seung-jun outweighed any supposed benefit. And the judges concluded that the refusal was a misuse of discretion and violated the principle of proportionality. At the same time, the court stressed that this outcome did not mean Yoo Seung-jun's past actions were appropriate. The decision was purely legal, not moral approval of his draft evasion. Still, the court added that modern Korean society, check this out, the modern Korean society is mature enough that his return would not realistically endanger the nation's stability or safety. Now, this is not the first time that Yoo Seung-jun has gone to court. In fact, he has sued multiple times over visa denials. In 2015, after turning 38, he applied for an overseas Korean visa, F4 visa, at the LA consulate. Under the Overseas Koreans Act at the time, even those who had lost citizenship to evade service could apply for residency once they reached a certain age. The consulate refused, citing risk to the national interest. Yoo Seung-jun sued, and after years of litigation, he won at the Supreme Court in 2019. But that victory was only procedural. It found flaws in how the refusal was handled. The consulate simply denied him again. And in 2020, he tried once more. By late 2023, he has secured another Supreme Court victory. Yet, in June 2024, the consulate issued yet another denial. He was frustrated and he filed his third lawsuit in September 2024. And with the August 2025 ruling, he has technically won again. But whether this leads to actual entry remains very uncertain. Now, the Korean government's position has remained very consistent. Allowing Yoo Seung-jun back would undermine public trust in the fairness of military service. Even when courts found procedural flaws in past denials, officials argued that the bigger issue is symbolic. To them, This is about protecting the integrity of a system that demands sacrifice from every Korean man, regardless of fame or fortune. Now, diplomatic and legal officials have emphasized that the ban is justified, not only under the Military Service Act, but also under broader principles of public interest and national security. The Ministry of Justice has repeatedly stated entry cannot be allowed. Now, as you might know, military service is one of the most sensitive obligations in Korean society and is tied directly to national security and equality. Every year, hundreds of thousands of young men suspend their studies, careers, and personal lives to serve. Now, Yoo Seung-jun's downfall hit harder because he had built his career on an image of integrity, even appearing in public service campaigns. For many people, his sudden renunciation of Korean citizenship was not just a personal decision, but rather a betrayal. And soldiers serving at the time said they felt mocked. Even politicians have weighed in. Current President Lee Jae-myung, then mayor of Seongnam City, once wrote that Yoo Seung-jun had enjoyed every privilege as a Korean while avoiding the duties of citizenship, asking, "Do you want more money from Korean pockets, or have you suddenly discovered patriotism?" And that Facebook post that he wrote, continues to resurface whenever Yoo Seung-jun's case is discussed. Now, the intensity of public anger toward Yoo Seung-jun was so strong that even years later, mentioning his name could ignite controversy. For example, in 2007, popular ballad singer Sung Si-kyung appeared on MBC's talk show 무릎팍도사, knee drop guru, translated as, and he surprised viewers with a bold statement. He argued that while Yoo Seung-jun's decision to avoid the draft was disappointing, banning him from the country was not something the state should enforce. He said, "Disliking Yoo Seung-jun is a matter of personal preference, but I don't think it's right for the government itself to step in and ban him." Now, the reaction was explosive. Like, some people praised Sung Si-kyung's logic, calling his remarks courageous and principled, even if unpopular. But other people condemned him harshly, accusing him of defending someone who had betrayed the nation. Critics even noted that Sung Si-kyung himself had not yet served in the military, questioning his motives. And the backlash grew so intense that Sung Si-kyung later clarified he wasn't defending Yoo Seung-jun's actions. He agreed that Yoo Seung-jun had done wrong, but insisted that legal matters should be handled consistently, not driven by outrage. He said, "He's an American citizen now. We should treat him as a foreigner, not as a Korean who needs special punishment." Now, this episode revealed just how deeply Yoo Seung-jun's case cut into the national mentality, psyche. Even a nuanced opinion that the ban blurred the line between personal anger and legal principle was enough to spark outrage. And for many Koreans, Yoo Seung-jun was more than an individual. He symbolized betrayal, fairness, and the obligations of citizenship. So Sung Si-kyung's experience showed how dangerous it was, even for respected artists, to touch their wound. Now, Yoo Seung-jun's story looks even starker when compared to others. Like actor Cha In-pyo, for example, famously gave up his U.S. permanent residency to enlist in the Korean military, earning respect as a role model. And singer Moon Hee-jun, once mocked online, faithfully served as an army driver in 2005, which was an experience that helped him turn his reputation around. And more recently, as you all might know, BTS rejected calls for special treatment, stating they would serve, and did so very proudly. Now, while some entertainers quietly avoided service in earlier decades, many high-profile figures since then have embraced it, even at the cost of their careers. And that makes Yoo Seung-jun's case feel uniquely isolated and damaging in hindsight. Although I need to say that those, ever since Yoo Seung-jun, celebrities became extra careful because they know what might happen if they, avoid military service, whether fairly or unfairly. They have to put their fame on the line. Which is why, when it comes to this case, actor Chang Pyo, he went to the military before Yoo Seung-jun, but Yoo Seung-jun's case became like the most famous and iconic that all celebrities, celebrities since then had to learn from this case. Now, Yoo Seung-jun has spent the years abroad, mainly in the US and China. He recently launched a YouTube channel in an effort to reconnect with fans, but in Korea, opposition to his return remains very fierce. Netizens joke that whenever Yoo Seung-jun talks about coming back, it means like Korea is safe again, earning him the nickname like disaster alarm. I guess that's the case. Now, his fan base has also dwindled. In the early 2000s, some supporters still defended him despite the scandal. Today, most have disappeared. For decades, his songs were banned on TV and radio, and until 2022, they were blocked on Korea's major streaming sites. Access has since been restored, but the stigma still remains. And even discussing a re-release or a cover version sparks controversy. Now, Yoo Seung-jun has often expressed regret, saying that if he had known the consequences, he would have served. And he claims that his decision was about maintaining residency in the US and staying close to his family. But critics argue that he chose convenience over duty. With this latest ruling, the courts once again sided with him on legal grounds. But the bigger question is whether the government will appeal, or if the Ministry of Justice will simply find another way to deny his entry. So, 2 decades have passed since Yoo Seung-jun's fall from grace, yet his case still shapes Korea's debate on fairness, on celebrity privilege, and national duty. So where should the line be drawn between a personal mistake and permanent exile? Should Korea ever allow Yoo Seung-jun to return, or has he forever forfeited it right? And is public anger still justified after all this time? Or is there room for forgiveness in a society that has evolved in its views on military service? And lastly, what does this case reveal about the balance between law, morality, and public opinion in modern Korea? Let me know your thoughts by writing comments, and I'll see you next time. Peace and love. Bye-bye.